Alright, Tubes, got us another installment of the Turbo Miata project here. I'm working in the garage here. It's Friday night. Just fired up the heater. It's pretty cold outside, but the temperature in here slowly creeping up. And so I just got a couple things I want to do on here. They're just small, tiny things. I'm just waiting for a few more parts to come in before I go ahead and bolt the turbo on and do all the big stuff. This isn't going to be like the other video where there's a lot of technical information. I'm just kind of going to be showing you what I'm doing here. But either way, hope you enjoy, and I'll show you what's going on. So the first thing I want to do is, you might remember from the last video, this is the oil pressure, or rather the fuel pressure sender unit that I put in there. And I had the gauge around here somewhere. I'm not sure what happened to it, but I was messing around with it. It's an electronic gauge, and I can't get it to read right. It's giving me all kinds of weird readings. So I decided I'm going to do away with that. And I ordered this little analog gauge here online. I picked it up on eBay. I was either going to buy a Jegs gauge, or I could have gotten this one. And this was actually a little bit cheaper, shipping included, than the Jegs gauge. I got this thing for about 20 bucks shipped to my door. And it also looks cooler too. It's got it's made by a company called Marshall, made in the USA. It says shockproof there at the top. You got Marshall, Anaheim, California at the bottom. It's got a little racing, the racing flags there, and it's also liquid filled too. So, but like I said, I picked this thing up on eBay. I think of it for about 20 bucks. So I'm going to give it a shot. I'll put a link down to it down below if anybody's looking for one of these. But yeah, I figured I'd try it out. The only complaint that I saw online is some people said that after they heat up, since it's a liquid-filled gauge, when they get hot, the liquid will actually expand and make it read a lower pressure rating or something along the lines of that. And they were talking about having to vent the gauge and whatnot. But I think as long as I'm only going to be using this thing for tuning anyway. It's not going to be something that I'm going to be looking at all the time. So as long as I'm careful not to take a reading when it's real hot, I think it'll be fine. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to unscrew they're the same thread, so I don't have to replace my T here. All I got to do is unscrew the first, the electronic sender unit, put this one in there, and then maybe turn it so it's facing straight up. Alright guys, I got the old sender unit out of there. That came out nice and easy. It wasn't in there super tight, and the threads aren't gummed up or anything, so I'm happy about that. And so now I taped up the gauge here. I'm not a huge fan of using Teflon tape on fuel components for obvious reasons, but I was real careful with the way I taped this, so I think it's going to be okay. Anyhow, let's get this thing screwed in there. Alrighty, got that thing in there. It's looking pretty good. I haven't decided how I want to orient it yet. If I want to have it so that it's right side up, if I look at it from the side, or straight on. For functionality though, it's probably better sideways, because if I'm going to be tuning the regulator right here, I'm going to want to be able to look at it that way. But either way, I got that in there. I guess now I'll just start it up and make sure it doesn't leak. Here's my boost gauge I installed. It's just it's an old school flying Miata, and it's a good gauge. I like the way they have the explosion taking place right about 27.5 psi. And I tried to drill the back of it to put a light in it, but the gauge face is not translucent. Light doesn't pass through it, so putting a light in the back doesn't really do any good. Guess I'll start it up here. I want to check for a fuel leak, but start it up real quick, just show you that the vacuum does read. Fuel gauge appears to be working. I don't see any leaks. It's reading about 32 pounds right now. It is still a little on the cold side, but it appears that the gauge is reading, and that's what I wanted. Alright, there's not actually a whole lot else that I can really do here tonight without putting this thing on a lift. And so I decided I'm going to do is I'm actually going to set up the regulator here for the 0 psi reading. Basically what this setting is for when you're approaching boost, or that crossover into boost, where you go from 0 psi up to or from vacuum into that 0 psi range. And the way it's set is with this this set screw on the top here. And so I actually went back to I had to go back to my own video and see what it's supposed to be at. And they said at idle, your fuel pressure should be between 28 and 30 psi, and we're sitting a little over the 30 mark. We're actually a little more like 30, 33. We're not quite warmed up, and again, I mean, this gauge probably isn't perfect. But either way, what we need to do here is set this thing at 0 psi. So to get 0 psi, what we're going to do, we're going to pull this off of here. And as you can see, it goes up to about 40. Now we actually want it to be up around between 47 and 49. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to loosen the jam nut here and turn this, I think, clockwise, and that should up our pressure. So let's get it done. All right, so I loosened our nut here. I already tested it. I'm going to start turning this thing clockwise, and you'll see the fuel pressure is starting to increase. So I think I'll go a little more on it. Turn this a little more. Alright, oh, a little too much. Once you get past a certain point, it gets real sensitive. So we want to leave it, that's 50 right there, so we're going to back it off a little below 50. Now let's put this line back on, put a vacuum back on it. It drops back to about 33. And pull the vacuum line off. We're going up to about 58, 50 or 48, 49. I'll go just a tiny bit more, just below 50. That should be good. All right. I got one other thing I figured I would show you guys that I'm going to be installing on this thing. Unfortunately, I don't have the connector, otherwise I would do it right now. But what we have here is I have this little switch here, and this is a pressure switch. So I think the pressure is actually a real low pressure, like, I don't know, maybe 10 inches of water, if that sounds about right. But whatever it is, for our purposes, this switch basically activates whenever there's any pressure, aka when we cross into boost. And so what this little switch is going to do, and I'll cover this more in detail when I get to it, but just to give you a real quick idea, what this is going to do is, you can see over here, I already have a connector on my line for my O2 signal. That's coming from the O2 sensor and going to the ECU. And so what's going to happen is this little switch is going to sit in line, and it's going to be wired so that whenever there's pressure, it'll close the switch and break the connection. And long story short, the reason we want that to happen is when we're running the stock ECU with the turbo setup, it's been known to cause a problem as you cross into boost. What'll happen is, just as you're crossing into boost, there's not enough airflow to cause the ECU to go into open loop mode, which is when it runs richer. And so what can end up happening is, either you could have a dangerous condition where you're too lean, but generally speaking, the issue is just that the car will stumble a little bit until it goes into open loop and gets enough fuel. And so what this will do is, whenever we go into boost, as soon as we get into boost, this switch will open and cut the signal from the O2 sensor to the ECU. And all that's going to do is send the ECU into open loop and hopefully prevent that stumble. So that's going to do it for this video. Hopefully you found it interesting. Next video I think will be the BIPES ACU. I have to put that in. That's a little box that controls timing. And so I'm planning to make that kind of more in-depth and kind of more on the how-to side. So hang in there for that. And after that one, turbo's going on the car. We got our parts just about all in stock. And so we're going to be ready to get this thing boosting up real soon. Thanks for watching. Let me know if you like this in the comments. We'll see you later, tubes.